Hello, everyone. Before I begin my brief report on the Chinese Studies program over the last year, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Bruce Stewart for his enthusiastic and unwavering support of the Chinese Studies program at Sidwell Friends School over the last 11 years. Even in my relatively brief tenure in this post, it's clear to me how crucial Bruce's support has been in continuing the development of the remarkable program that began so long ago to support the Zeidman family and so many other generous members of the Sidwell community. So on behalf of my colleagues and students, thank you. So the Chinese Studies program continues to develop at Sidwell. This year, 90 students in the upper school and 35 in the middle school are taking Chinese language classes. And fourth graders are being introduced to the language as part of their focus on Chinese culture and history. In national competitions of language, Chinese language, Sidwell students consistently excel, a tribute to their hard work and to their teachers, Leah Eckberg, Fei Reed at the middle school, and our new full-time Chinese teacher, Tang Qihui, who joined Sidwell from the prestigious Monterey Defense Language Institute. Tang Lao Shi. The Chinese language program is stronger and deeper, with more students participating in learning opportunities in China. Last year, 7 Sidwell students spent their junior year in Beijing and environs on the school year abroad program. We'll refer to them from now on as the Magnificent Seven. This year, 2 more students are in SYA Beijing and 4 have applied for next year. The high proficiency of these magnificent returning students has enabled us to establish a new Chinese capstone seminar in Chinese Studies, which is a content course on modern Chinese culture and history, team taught in Chinese, using primary sources in Chinese, including recordings and folk texts and very dry documents like these you see here from my own research in Little Sichuan. The seminar is a goalpost for the program, a team effort developed by Leah Eckberg and Fei Reed, with some input from me, and that's taught by Tang Qihui and Fei Reed, again with my ongoing interference. But it's been a wonderful experience, and we're really lucky to have them. Last year, we also started a new Sidwell Chinese Studies summer program, taking a group of students to Shanghai and Hangzhou for a month of intensive language training in place. With the kind and generous cooperation of our sister schools in those booming and prosperous cities, and including visits to sites of interest from traditional towns and temples to an ecological wetland reserve and the global wholesale market in Yiwu. The beautiful campus of Hangzhou Foreign Language School that you see here, beautiful campus, was the base of our operation for almost 3 weeks of that trip. In addition to what we plan as a biannual summer language program, this year and in future years we will also offer a summer study tour of Sichuan based on the forthcoming monograph that my wife and I have co-authored called Moral Landscape in the Sichuan Mountain Village. The tour will be open to rising juniors and above, and it will be an opportunity for language, but will be open to people who do not take Chinese. So we'll be looking at the different cultural landscapes in Sichuan, the inscription of history in place, the Himalayan border region ecology, and cultural and ethnic diversity in this fascinating region of the world that you'll hear some more about tonight. We are, of course, extraordinarily fortunate to have a thriving and growing exchange relationship with our 3 sister schools in China. As Bruce mentioned, Beijing, number 2 high school affiliated with Beijing Normal University, the high school affiliated with Fudan University in Shanghai, and the Hangzhou Foreign Language School. So this year, in addition to having Sidwell students, faculty, and alumni visit and study in our sister schools, and having Sam Zhang and Laura Liu here as members of our community for this year, we also had the pleasant experience of hosting 2 groups traveling from Hangzhou One was a model UN team that came to New York and then spent some time with us here in Washington. And another came over the Chinese Spring Festival break. The students had a great time touring around Washington and Williamsburg, and they got to meet not only their friends here at Sidwell, but also students from Beijing and Shanghai. So we were quite the gathering point for students from China that week. But what they enjoyed by far was meeting Sidwell families and enjoying homestays. And you can look online and see their beautiful reflections on their experience at Sidwell in the Hangzhou Foreign Language School blogosphere. Find these observations. For cultural exchange aimed at recent Sidwell alumni, the Zeidman Fellowship that Bruce mentioned offers 2 annual scholarships for a year's study at Beijing Normal University. Pictured here are last year's fellows, Julius Taranto and Doug Proctor. And this year's Zeidman Fellow, Helen Lee, class of 04. We're still taking applications for this unique and wonderful opportunity, so I encourage all alumni to apply through the Chinese Studies webpage. Our language and exchange programs are supported by a growing number of co-curricular cultural activities. These activities start at the lower school with the annual Chinese New Year celebration. And here I'm glad to report that the lower school has now been thoroughly cleared of evil spirits by the students. And there's a new summer Chinese language and cultural enrichment program for young children. We also have a new Sidwell Chinese film series that brought the filmmaker Howie Snyder, who was a classmate of John Zeidman in 1981 in Beijing. A wonderful documentary. He came here, screened it, and discussed it with the students. And just this last Sunday night, we had another pair of documentary filmmakers, Lin Chu and Nelson Walker, talk about their work doing documentary films in Tibet. In these efforts, we're teaming with the Asia Society in Washington in presenting this film series as well as a new speaker series. And here I'm pleased to announce that there will be 2 more upcoming events co-sponsored with the Asia Society and Sidwell Friends School that will continue the focus on Tibet. One, March 26th, featuring 2 prominent Tibet scholars sponsored by the China State Council Information Office, and one on May 4th with Pico Iyer, the travel writer and biographer of the Dalai Lama, which will both be held here at Sidwell in the Middle School Drama Studio. Please check the Chinese Studies webpage for details. So I'm happy to report that the Sidwell Chinese Studies program is strongly engaged with this new partnership with Asia Society, and the program is actively represented in the broader China-related academy through site visits that we sponsored in the first ever National Chinese Language Conference, site visits here at Sidwell for that, a presentation done at the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Language annual meeting, and papers delivered at the Asia Network Consortium of Liberal Arts Colleges, at the Association of Asian Studies annual meeting, and at the Fairbanks Center for Chinese Studies at Harvard. So the Chinese Studies program is growing, thriving, and engaged. I'm pleased to report, and thank you for your patience. Now, speaking of engaged, I would like to introduce this evening's program, which is, of course, Tibet, Hope Through Engagement. We have 3 wonderful speakers here this evening.